So, galaxy, stars, infinity of cosmos. That kind of setting can give you a pretty good adventure, or so we're told. Therefore, BioWare back in 2007 gave us a new kind of game. Something that they haven't attempted yet, even though they were quite famous for their Knights of the Old Republic series, the Star Wars games. So, where could they go now? Well, first off, welcome. If you're new here, you can check out my last video if you want to know more about the kind of content I make. But basically, I do my video diary. Yeah, I explore my gaming journey here and I give off my personal experience with the games that I conquer and share them with you. And during the last video, I kind of went over all of the games that I have completed over the last half a year or so, and my thoughts about them because your opinion on the game can shift between right after you have completed it and as that some time pass. Memory tends to keep the good things, preoccupying the mind, and remember the good experience better than the bad ones. So I shared them in the last video. But still, here we are talking about Mass Effect 1. What is a Mass Effect 1? Well, just as I said before, it is a game made by BioWare, a legendary developer during their golden age, as some people would consider it. And it really felt like it because before that, they have made Knights of the Old Republic. They made Jade Empire. I can't uh, I can't remember if Dragon Age 1 was before or after Mass Effect, but it was during that same time. So there were a lot of talented people in the studio, and they have decided to make something new. What would eventually be known as the space opera, heavily story driven game in the setting of a quite a recent future, if we're talking about year 2026. I'm kidding, of course. About spaceships, aliens, advanced technologies, racial relations, the morality of science, and many other topics have been tackled in this game. And it is really weird to think of that it came out 19 years ago. 19 years have passed. How time flies. And the game, uh, everybody can agree, in some senses, of course, not in everything, it was a groundbreaking game that paved way to the new generation of story driven games. It was a massive thing, even though it wasn't as favorably reviewed at the time of its release. I know, right? Because I thought I was the only one. I mean, but now that I think of it, I was not because I've seen the hype that's going toward Mass Effect 2. I've seen how people were like, yeah, Mass Effect 2 is coming. And when it was released, the hype only went bigger because the story was big, the action was fun, the game was very stylish, very modern. But somehow, not many people were talking that way about Mass Effect 1. I wonder why. Then I tried it out. And I didn't like it at all. Well, not at all, but I liked some parts of it. But still, I tackled Mass Effect 1 back in the day, like back in 2011 or 2012, like two or three times. And all of that time, I was annoyed. This game felt very annoying. Uh, I kind of understood the plot, but sometimes it kind of felt forced. So now, about 3 years ago, now 3 years ago, I have bought myself a legendary edition of Mass Effect. It is a remastered versions of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, all packed into the same bundle. The quality of remaster is not my concern really. I'm not a specialist in that regard, and I'm not really. That was not the point, for me to tackle the game because I really wanted to complete the first Mass Effect game, and since I knew that the games 2 and 3 carry a lot of of your there are a lot of consequences for your actions. That is the main theme of the game, that you make a lot of choices. So you really want to complete this game, if not 100%, then 90%. The side content could be unexpectedly rewarding later in terms of narrative. But not really. I mean, it's whole another topic to discuss. But still, Mass Effect 1 was released. It was a game made by in RPG Studios, but it wasn't a traditional RPG. What do we have from an RPG? We have dialogues, we have choices, we have some form of tactical control over our squad mates. We can customize our gear, and that is pretty much it. There is not much else about that. It is not an RPG game, after all. At least when the game, the Mass Effect 2 and 3, lent more towards the action, they explored the RPG aspects of the series more. So it is kind of a silly game. And uh, I have a mixed feelings about it. I think I enjoy it, but I have to be very. Um, I want to be very specific about things that I like and I dislike about this game because that's how I am. That's how I am. Nitpicking again. Anyway, what Mass Effect 1 does gloriously is it is establishing its own setting, the whole new galaxy to explore. You might have never heard of a fantasy setting of a Milky Way galaxy and all the species that populate it, especially humans. You play as a human, of course, and you kind of the whole first Mass Effect is an exploration of a human species, of that new society that they have entered, and they have only reached the stars. They have only made their first contact with the other species like 35 years before the events of the game. So they are really fresh in that terms, especially since many of the other species live for hundreds of years, uh, humans are not the strongest guys in the galaxy, both in terms of political influence and physical capabilities and even technology. Um, they're underdogs, and that what makes kind of a compelling side to take on. But still, the game really establishes its universe. You meet new people, explore big historical events of recent past, important wars, and important conflicts. The main conflict, of course, is of all Mass Effect games, is a synthetic life. Is it worth the same as much as organic life, or is it more, or is it less? What makes a person alive? There are a lot of questions that are inhibited in this narrative, but still, I think that part of the game is cool, even though sometimes game really drowns you in exposition. It drowns you in tedious dialogues, and it doesn't show you some conflicts. It just merely states them like this is what you have to deal with, and that's it. Um, but yeah, the setting is cool. There are a lot of cool ideas. Every species of aliens are very distinct and very interesting, including the secondary kinds. You know what I'm talking about, like living jellyfishes or these fat guys in HEV suits from Half-Life. Um, there are a lot to tackle in that regard, but I don't want to spend too much time in this video about it. I just want to tell you that it is a strongest part of the game. I think what happened was BioWare had a very cool concept and they were very rushed to put all of these ideas together, especially in the kind of gameplay that ended up happening. So yeah, maybe sometimes it doesn't feel perfect. It doesn't. The shoe doesn't fit sometimes, but when you walk for long enough time on it, your feet kind of fill up the space. So setting is very cool. And it is heavily supported by the atmosphere of the game. And atmosphere of this game is not yet perfected. Again, I think Mass Effect 2 done an amazing job of exploring further these ideas, but some of the ingredients that ended up, being important ones in the soup of this Mass Effect vibe. And I gotta remind you that Mass Effect it was a phenomenon. It was a gaming. Uh, it was something like never before. And there were a lot of things like designs of the aliens, of the armors, of the spaceships, of the environment, and of course sound designs. Sound designs are deliciously futuristic and music is good. Sometimes it gets repetitive. Yeah, I think the game overall could have used a little bit more of a variety in terms of tracks. But the tracks that we have is they make me feel kind of sad that this kind of ambient electronic music genre is underused, I think, in the year of 2026. And I'm glad that we have what we have still. The music is very cool sometimes. The main theme of the game, like that sound like it is very nice. It is very clever. Sometimes also when you're exploring side content, you get to play the missions in the abandoned facilities, and there is very cool, creepy ambience playing. There are some good tracks. But I once again have to state that we could have used more diversity in terms of tracks. Um, how the game looks. I think, I've said about the designs. I think the designs are kind of cool, but the game was made during the era where there weren't as much resources pulled into the video game. So if you see an alien species, most likely this is the kind of this is the kind of face that you will see all the time. The only thing that will change is the gear, the ornaments, maybe some kinds of face paints or something, and the color. And that is it. Most of the aliens have the exact same faces, except the main heroes. They get the privilege of having their own face. And that is okay. That is actually not that bad. Looks, I think they're mediocre, but not in a bad way. But you know what's was bad? It's the original graphics, because I remember there were a lot of filters on this game. They tried to make game more stylistic, even while you're on the Normandy, on your own spaceship. It feels like you're walking through some kind of cheap movie. It feels weird. It feels weird. And I think now they are much better because these kinds of effects were thrown off. But animations are still silly, and physics are as well. It feels like an early Havoc engine, like when something dies, it becomes like a pack of balloons. It flies all over. It is weird, but it is okay. And one of the most important parts about the atmosphere of the game is the dialogues. As I mentioned before, it is a narrative driven game, so you talk a lot. And what new in this game was compared to most other games in the market, that they have made an RPG game where you make choices, and you have to take the consequences of these choices. So the story can get quite complex, and it's your journey, the one that you are taking. And they made the main character, Commander Shepard, they made him speak. They gave him the voice. And not just one, but two, male and female. That was the most groundbreaking thing about Mass Effect, I think. It gave a main character a face distinct from the player that is playing it, but still gave some freedom to the player on how to approach the game with his own personal Shepard. I personally enjoy playing the Shepard as the default male look, because his deadpan delivery or creepy smiles, they're so silly. They're so silly, and they look so weird in some cutscenes. Oh my god, it is so funny. I just can't put my finger to it. It is so cool. But yeah, this was the first game that, well, one of the earlier games that started using so much of the voiceover, not only for the background characters, but for the main character. So they did another thing that became a heavily used thing in the game design is the dialogue wheel. It is basically six kind of directions where you can put your stick on your gamepad, and you will never have more than six options on a dialogue. But the way they handled it was so good compared to anything that came after it. I know, right? 20 years have passed, and somehow the first people that used it, I mean BioWare, were the only ones who could have done it at least kind of, all right. Sometimes game gives you a most, bold twisting illusion of choice, like we could use another gun, if you know, you know. But sometimes it can give you very unexpected options, and some of them are really good. Um, there are whole videos about a neutral shepherd. It's basically a compilation videos of dialogue options that nobody usually uses because people tend to gravitate to polar opposites, not the middle path in that regard. So yeah, dialogues were an amazing inclusion, and even though sometimes they are very silly, sometimes, as I said before, NPCs can drown you in exposition. They can talk so long, and dialogue is so boring, and then you give some kind of silly, cringy answer to the question, and it is another vibe. It is another vibe. You have to play the game to really appreciate it. But yeah, if that is all that you need to play the game, now you have a perfect excuse to do it. And since it is a first part of the trilogy, as I said before, each game transitions its save files to the next. So when you make an important galaxy-wide decision in one of these games, all of the next ones, they keep going by that narrative route, and that is very cool. And that is what also sealed the death to this series, unfortunately. But maybe the games will return. Who knows? Well, they announced that they will return, but it's EA. Come on. Anyways, the story. The story of the game is it isn't amazing, and I feel kind of spoiled, of course, because I've seen some amazing stories, but it is okay. And the whole shtick is that you're playing as Commander Shepard, as I mentioned before, a very respectable veteran of the Human Alliance armed forces, and you are made the first Spectre. Who are the Spectres? Basically, there is like a UN institution, United Nations institution, covering all of the alien species, and the highest power there is the Council, and they can promote some very respectable warriors into the positions of Spectres, so they have a an an amnesty on many kinds of law breaking things. They basically do errands for the council, and they're the special agents that have a lot of privileges. It is a perfect excuse for you to go adventuring into this new Milky Way galaxy. And yeah, you have to save the galaxy from the destruction. You have some villains. You meet some friends along the way, and maybe kick some asses down the road. Who knows? That is basically the whole story for the first game. I will not go into the spoiler territory. Don't really want to. Don't really want to. If someone would want to debate with me about some narrative decisions of BioWare, he will know where to find me. But still, I think this is an okay story, and it could have used more polish. I imagine what would have happened if they've given BioWare one more year to develop the game. I think both the story, the environment, everything would have been better. But now I have to tackle the most pressing issue with this game. The one that made me very annoyed. One that I feel a big sense of pain to. And that is the side content. The side content. Of course, you know that I am a big Yakuza fan, and Yakuza fan is all about the side content. But here, what is important about Mass Effect side content is the consequences, silly, since the game transitions its save file from 1 to 2 to 2, from 2 to 3, you can have a lot of consequences for your previous actions. It's like you save a child from fire in the first game, and then in the third game you meet a teenager guy who says that he was that kid, and the your actions of saving him and his family moved him so much, so he decided to become a firefighter, and he finds you and shakes your hand, and that exact kind of thing doesn't happen, but there are a lot of very similar kind of events that are going on all throughout all of these three games, and it is very beautiful. Therefore, game could be very rewarding towards you completing these quests, but the quests themselves, God, they suck. They're so boring. When you tackle the side content, most likely you will have to go into the same pre-generated room 100 times over and over and over. You'll just shoot some enemies, find some loot, and that's it. And it just goes over and over and over. There is a DLC to this game, and I decided to complete it first. Maybe I will get some cool items or a cool story, something like that. No, it was so boring. It was so boring. I was 20 hours in, and I didn't achieve much. Well, I just completed half of the game basically, and a lot of side content, which wasn't interesting at all. Especially, and there is a very important part about this kind of content, Mako. If you have played Mass Effect series, and especially Mass Effect 1, you know what Mako is. Basically, Mako is your car. It is an armored vehicle that is dropped off on most of the planets that you visit, and you drive around. The problem is the game relies too heavily on it, and it handles poorly. It is necessary for progression in most cases. It is tedious, and the locations that you have to explore, they're bland. Therefore, there is like a third of the game that is just a chore. It is it is barely pleasurable. I mean, you know how I get the pleasure out of riding that car is when I optimize my driving so good, so I can perfect, my speed, that when I cross the hill, I will use jetpack. There is a jetpack function to this nightmare of a vehicle, so I can propel myself further instead of going, into the down the x axis. It is so weird, and I mean, I kind of understand where they were coming from, to give a player sense of space exploration, finding natural resources, lost, forgotten relics of other species. But what it ended up being is just seven flavors of collectibles that aren't rewarding at all, both in terms of the experience itself and the results of it. I only completed one of these collectible hunts, and it was about some kind of Asari matriarch recordings, and I didn't get shit. Maybe I got a little bit of experience points, but that's it. It was very tedious experience, and I didn't like it much. Well, I didn't mind it too much, so I wasn't like disappointed or anything. I knew what I was going in, and I mean, that's it. That's what you have to expect. Also, there is another important part to the gameplay. I think there are three main kinds of gameplay. One of them is Mako. It is the least used one and thankfully the least remembered one. They got rid of it into the next games. Thank God. The first one is shooting, of course. You are playing as basically a commando. Of course, you can choose different kind of classes, but the point is you play as a guy who is a high-ranking officer, and he resolves most of his problem by shooting at them. And there is a certain charm to it. And I think while BioWare were developing the first game, they kind of were afraid that that kind of, opinion would settle in with the players. They wanted to make a more sophisticated game. But when the players reacted positively to this kind of aspect of the game, they went further in and they not only made a cool action game, but a story-driven game as well. I think that's the way that you resolve these issues. You find what was a an opportunity, and you delve into it, and you may find the results that you were definitely not expecting. That is very cool. But, but the shooting itself in a first game, especially compared to 2 and 3, generic and boring. I couldn't stress that enough. I mean, you got infinite ammo, you got low covers, which you can, stick to. There are a lot of third-person shooters at the time. This was one among them. But the infinite ammo also granted you overheating. You have to manage your heat level on your weapons, which was very tedious. Uh, Also, thanks to the different classes that I mentioned, you can have different kind of abilities, but the game would still feel kind of repetitive. Or at least it was to me. I mean, I completed Mass Effect 2 and 3 back in the day as a kind of more technician kind of build. And nowadays, I've been playing as a straight soldier, and the gameplay isn't much different. I just had one more button to press, throw in one projectile, and now instead of this, I get grenades, which I don't use much, but still. Shooting was generic, and you know, there is a sense of that RPG kind of idea. It was there, it really lingered over their heads, but basically, what you get is a different equipment, different choices of your squad mates, and different upgrades for your equipment. That's it. That's the whole RPG shtick. Well, you can also throw some easy commands on the battlefield, like you go there, you go here, but I generally didn't do that much because I never felt like my squad mates given a big input. I was just me and my sniper rifle were against the world. That was my kind of approach, and sometimes game felt kind of easy, even though I played on a hard difficulty, and I even went and played this game. This time I played it with the game controller, and still the game wasn't very hard. Most of the times that I failed due to some kind of one hit, one kill bullshit, some random rocket or something like that. And yeah, it was all right. It was all right. And the third part of the game, excuse me, the third part of the game, one of the more important parts, is the exploration and dialogues. When you visit a civilized spaceport or citadel, go around your ship, Normandy, and everything else. Um, you interact with the environment in non-hostile way and speak to people, and that is the part of the game that they have truly struck gold with, I think. This is the part that the fans reacted most strongly about, even in the first game. And yeah, I don't think I have much to add. I basically told what I think about it previously. So, in this regard, dialogues could be silly, dialogues could be boring sometimes, could be tedious, but overall, the architecture of the structure of gameplay that leads to these dialogues is okay. It is not terrible, it is okay. And the most important feature of this game, the most important one, and I can't stress that enough, is making big choices. Uh, During the time, as I said before, story-driven games they were massively gaining in popularity at the time. There was a whole new batch of genres that have been, flourishing because of that. And BioWare did something that they know how to do. They put the difficult choices in front of the player. But I think sometimes they kind of go over my head, during this game, it feels like I met, you know, like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company at McDonald's, and we shared a couple of drinks after that. And just because I told him that I prefer red sneakers as opposed to green ones, he made the uniform on all of his soldier with the red shoes. The, Nothing like that happens in the game, but you understand what I mean. Sometimes the most silliest things can result in the most big impact, or the choices is put right in front of you, like here. I know you're a random nobody, but now you choose the fate of the galaxy, and that is weird, I think, especially the last portion of the game. It just throws a number of big choices in front of you, and you just have to choose. You just have to choose, and it's okay. I think they paved a way for themselves to explore these new grounds, this new universe, and new genre as a whole. So, what my opinion on Mass Effect 1? It is very, it is an unrefined experience, but it is a good experience nonetheless. I wouldn't advise anyone to play a Mass Effect 1 as a first game. Seriously, and even though game gives a lot of exposition towards, what kind of a universe that is, what kind of political forces are here and there, I think Mass Effect 1 over, overshares with you these things. Mass Effect 2 is good enough without that kind of exposition. It will tell you about the world and story as you go just fine. You will be all right. And from my point of view, Mass Effect 2 is a better game, the best game in the series. But I will have to find it out next time. So for now, thank you for tuning in. Um, what my direction, my journey will be is most likely I will stay with World of Warcraft. I will play a little bit of Overwatch here and there, and maybe it's time for me to buy myself a Yakuza 8 Infinite Wealth. You have to, you have to end the series. I get the feeling that I've played all of these Yakuza games, and Yakuza 8 will be the final game that I will play. And not only because of how good it is, but also of how bad it is. I've got a grim and sour feeling coming up, and I can't avoid it. I have to tackle it. But I'm glad, that I get to play Ichiban again. He was a great protagonist. So yeah, yeah. Thank you for hearing me ramble on. If you have any kinds of thoughts about Mass Effect 1, or do you disagree with me on some topics, feel free to comment on. And yeah, I'll sure see you again next time. See you, dude.